Welcome back everybody, and welcome to video 38. Today we're going to be talking about your vestibulocochlear system. That is the organs that are responsible for your hearing and balance. There's a lot of very microscopic details when it comes to your hearing and balance as their senses. I'm going to do my best to try to describe them here in this video. So when it comes to hearing, the other name for your hearing as a sense is audition. Audition is going to be taking sound waves from your external environment and turning them into an electrical signal that the brain can then understand. There's a number of ways that it'll do this, and we'll get into those. It'll do that through three primary parts of the ear, known as the external ear, middle ear, and the inner ear. The external ear is going to include your auricle, which is what you normally think of as the ear. In some textbooks, you might see the auricle also referred to as the pinna, but the pinna is actually more suited to an ear that is movable. So think things like, think of the ears in foxes and cats, where they can turn their ear in different directions. That is more so what is intended by the word pinna. But your auricle is going to be curved and try to funnel sound waves down the auditory canal to your middle ear and to your inner ear. So that's kind of why it has its shape, is it's trying to catch sound waves and direct them through that auditory canal down that external auditory meatus. At the end of the auditory canal is the tympanic membrane, also known as the eardrum. So everything from the auricle inward medially until you reach that tympanic membrane is a part of the external ear. After you get past the tympanic membrane, you're going to have the middle ear, which is going to contain your ossicles. Now these ossicles are a group of three bones. They are actually the three smallest bones in the human body. You have the malleus, which translates into the hammer, incus, which is going to translate into the anvil, and stapes, which is going to translate into the stirrup. Now they're all kind of loosely based around their shape or based around what they do. And when we start talking about how sound waves are turned into an electrical signal, we'll kind of see that. Then you have your inner ear, which is going to contain your cochlea and the vestibule. Also, you may see this known as the Bony Labyrinth, because it is a very complex and very multi-directional series of structures that we'll see, because turning sound waves into an electrical signal is very, very difficult. So here you can see a picture of everything that I was talking about there. You have the auricle, what you normally think of as the ear, catching and directing sound waves down to the tympanic membrane, your eardrum there. We're going to see vibrations are going to cause, or that sound wave is going to travel through the tympanic membrane, through the malleus, the incus, and the stapes right there. And then that stapes is going to translate those sound waves into your inner ear here, where we have the cochlea and the vestibule waiting. So the auricle is going to catch sound waves and direct them down that auditory canal. Now when those sound waves reach the tympanic membrane, they're going to cause vibrations in that tympanic membrane. The tympanic membrane will vibrate at the same frequency as those sound waves, and then it's going to transfer those and amplify them through the malleus, incus, and the stapes. So we're maintaining the frequency, but we're amplifying them through that middle ear there. And then the stapes are going to transfer those vibrations through what's known as the oval window into the cochlea, which is filled with fluid. That fluid can then vibrate again at the same frequency and in the same wave pattern as that sound. So here we have, so far we're turning those sound waves in air into waves in a liquid. Those vibrations in the fluid are then going to be picked up by hair cells in the organ of Corti, which is going to trigger an action potential, because hair cells are able to create an action potential and create an electrical signal based on when they pick up movement. So here we got a little bit better graphic. You can start seeing some things. Again, that frequency is going to be captured. We're going to capture those sound waves by the auricle, translate them to the tympanic membrane. It's going to be vibrating at the same frequency here. Those vibrations get amplified across your middle ear till they reach the oval window here and transfer into the cochlea. Now you can see the organ of Corti here with those hair cells that it has on top there. That fluid is going to travel through, and as that fluid travels through, that's going to be caught by the organ of Corti in the hair cells located on that organ of Corti. And then depending on whether something is a high frequency or a low frequency, that is going to cause different parts of different areas of the hair cells to vibrate. So that's also how your brain is able to interpret if something is high pitch or low pitch, is based on which hair cells are being stimulated. Now, when a hair cell is stimulated, what happens is that wave is going to cause a vibration. Kind of the organ of Corti is going to be moving back and forth because of all those vibrations and all those waves passing through the fluid. And then based on that hair cell, where those vibrations are happening and what pitch we're looking at, anytime a hair cell bends, that is going to cause it, that becomes a physical stimulus that your brain can turn into an electrical signal. Sort of how if the hair on your arm is touched or moved, your hair cells your hair is able to pick it up, even though it's not really hair cells at this point, because you have some sort of pull, some sort of tug on the things that hair is connected to. And then from there, it's going to be able to travel to the brain, where your brain can then interpret what frequencies are being sensed, what's the amplitude of everything, and it can turn it into what we normally hear, or what we think of as sound. Now, when it comes to balance, also known as your equilibrium, it's going to use not the cochlea, but it's going to use the vestibule, which is connected to that cochlea, and it's going to use the semicircular canals of that vestibule. The semicircular canals go in 3 different directions. Think of it like an XYZ almost kind of direction, and they're going to be used. They're going to use hair cells again to be able to sense balance. So they have a very top-heavy gel, which is going to contain some otoliths that make them top-heavy. Just kind of some, I don't know if it's calcium, but some solidified little rocks almost on top of this gel, so that if the gel ends up being pulled in any way, that top heaviness is going to exaggerate that pulling, and that's going to be sensed by the hair cells. So I'll use this to kind of paint a little bit better picture. You can see these otoliths on here and the hair cells sitting inside of this top heavy gel. And then when you tilt your head forward, or anything with your head associated with balance, these otoliths and this otolithic membrane, because it's top heavy, is going to exaggerate what direction gravity is going to begin to pull. Those hair cells can then sense that. They're going to be bent in one way, again, kind of a physical stimulus like we saw when it comes to hearing, and that gets turned into an action potential that is sent to the brain to sense what is the position of your head. And so with these 3 semicircular canals, your brain can piece it all together to sense how much your head is tilted. Is it tilted forward? Is it tilted forward and to the right a little bit? And it can make the appropriate corrections to make sure that the appropriate muscles become contracted so that you aren't falling over. So that is a very basic overview of hearing and balance. Again, there's a lot more to this, especially when it comes to things like physics with these senses. So if you have any questions, again, please consult the online textbook that we have, or you can ask questions in class or on Schoology.